right now, let's bring in another former BYU and NFL linebacker, a guy who spent 4 years in the league. He lived around these very situations that we're talking about, played with Max Hall, and now joins us on BYU Sports Nation. His name is David Nixon. David, you had some bumps and bruises, certainly in your career at BYU and in the NFL. What kind of a situation are we dealing with here when we talk about pain medications and drugs and these issues within high-profile football?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very serious situation, obviously, and you guys have kind of touched on it a little bit, but, especially in the NFL, your whole job rides on the fact that you're out there on Sundays. And, if you're fighting for a position like a lot of us were, then you have to do whatever it takes to get on the field. And oftentimes that resorts to taking some pain meds to make sure that you can get out there and play. So it's a serious issue, and a lot of guys are battling with it daily in the NFL. And I think in the last few years, you've seen the NFL take a harder stance on it, and they're realizing this is a serious issue, and they try to step up to the plate and help those guys. But the fact of the matter is, you've got guys that, because of those injuries, those pain meds are what kind of gets them through the day and gets them through practice and gets them to game day. So they become dependent on them and unfortunately create that addiction, which is obviously hard to shake. So it's a real issue. I saw guys struggle with it, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of help out there if those guys are willing to seek help. Oftentimes it takes a lot of events to occur to where somebody is willing to seek for help, and you hope in this instance in particular that this might be the one that might help Max reach out and get some help.
Yeah, that's what I assume is the encouraging part, is now that it's out, he doesn't have to hide from this problem. He can get help. Nobody wants to admit their closet demons because it's embarrassing and it's frightening. But now that it's out, you kind of feel like changes can start to take place.
Exactly, yeah. And, I know Max very well. Just saw him a few months ago, and we chatted. And I know his wife very well and their families. I mean, when you play for BYU and you touched on with Chad Lewis and Rob Morris, I mean, we're a big fraternity. And, I spent a few years there with Max. Some of my best years, my junior, senior year, he was my quarterback. And, we were team captains together, et cetera. And so when you hear one of your brothers like this, struggling, all you can do is just think for them, hurt for them, and want to do anything possible to help them out. And that's kind of what's been these last 24 hours since I found out. It's kind of been a big punch to the gut, and you just pray for them and hope that if any way possible we could help or whoever could help and reach out to him. That's what you hope for him and his family because this issue is real. And I think a lot of people think this is just amongst athletes, but this is, like you guys mentioned, it touches almost everyone. Everyone knows somebody that's been addicted to drugs or had some type of struggles in life. It's a real issue, and it's time that everyone helps. Everyone helps out, and once again, it's time for people to seek help and hopefully be able to overcome them.
David, is it unrealistic that we've created this physical standard that you have to be as big and as fast as you can, and then all of a sudden when college is done, you don't have the access to maybe the pain medication that you took, or maybe just to deal with the situation? Is it unrealistic, the standard that we've given to football players in general?
I think it definitely puts the players in a predicament, no question. I mean, you've got guys that coaches are pushing you to get out on the field and play. They need you, especially if you're an integral part of the team like Max was as quarterback. I mean, he is the guy. So despite injuries, coaches, in the NFL, et cetera, we're pushing them to get out there and play. So, once again, it all comes down to do whatever it takes to really get out there on the field. And unfortunately, sometimes it comes with the toll of taking a toll on your body, as it has in this case. I mean, it truly is sad. But, like we mentioned earlier, hopefully he can seek some help and, hopefully get over this. Max is a great guy. I love Max. He's a stud. And we all have our own issues, but some of them are obviously made public, like this one is. But at the same time, hopefully he has this kind of supporting cast, which I know he does, and his wife and family that will hopefully help him get over it.
David, how did you deal with trying to stay on the field in your career at BYU and in the NFL?
It was tough because I had my share of bumps and bruises. I had my share of surgeries. It was actually interesting in the NFL. I broke my hand when I was with the Rams, and interesting story here as far as pain meds go. I had surgery, and they gave me the Percocets and lower tabs to help get over it. And hand surgery is kind of minor, so I was able to wean myself off them pretty quickly. I've always been kind of afraid of painkillers for this exact reason, but kind of weaned myself off within a day or two. And I remember going to my trainer with the Rams, and he asked me, how's the pain coming along? I said, well, it's pretty manageable at this point. And he said, are you still taking your painkillers? I said, no, I've pretty much stopped. I've still got basically a whole bottle left. And he said, well, bring those in tomorrow. Well, the next day comes, I actually forgot to bring him in, and he made me go home and get him at that point. I brought them right back up to the facility, and he disposed of them right there in front of me because of what's at hand, because of the addictions that are going on and what those painkillers can lead to. So, like I said, I think the NFL, I think college too, I think everyone's kind of waking up to realize that, same thing with Toradol. Toradol was a drug that was kind of given out freely, and they had a huge crackdown in the NFL on Toradol, which is kind of an anti-inflammatory / painkiller. So I think they're becoming more aware of it, and they're trying to crack down on it because of what's occurring. But I think they still have a long ways to go, and once again, hopefully guys can find ways to cope with the pain other than reaching out to these painkillers, and then obviously street drugs from there.
David, we appreciate the insight into a really just overwhelming topic at this point, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, guys.